So I am driving to Colorado for a wedding, and I'm trying to listen to an audiobook and not doing a good job because my head just keeps, sort of obsessing over, ruminating over what's going on with Democratic politics. So I thought maybe videoing a little diary, getting all my thoughts down, would help get this shit out of my head so I can just focus on the road. So, I think a lot of people, a lot of regular Democratic voters, are pretty concerned about Joe Biden's ability to win re-election. And I think those concerns are fair. They're well-founded. The job he did at the debate was very poor, and he looked unfit for part of it, at least. There's no getting around that. There's no pretending like that's not true. At the same time, it doesn't seem like the debate had much effect on the polls. What little effect it did have seems to have begun fading. So I don't know what to make of that. I do know that what has happened in elite circles since then has been what I would describe as sort of a cynical seizing of this moment of fear among voters to pursue what seems to me to be a less than ideal ideological agenda. So my read of the situation is that there are a lot of donors who have been unhappy with Biden for a variety of reasons related to mainly his policies and what parts of the coalition he prioritizes. Seeing a moment where they might be able to dethrone him and increase their influence or standing within the party. My read on that situation comes from the fact that I've seen and read multiple articles with interviews from both anonymous and non-anonymous multimillionaire and billionaire donors saying as much, right? Like there was one, Ratfitch, I think, who admitted he was wanting to get rid of Biden before the debate. There were donors complaining that Biden didn't, sufficiently wish them happy birthdays. Now, Biden's NLRB has been very pro-labor. Biden himself has been more in the mold of a very old school, FDR style populist coalition builder than in the Obama new money coalition mold. And I think what we see is that a lot of the electeds who have come out pressuring Biden to get out of the race have been those with deep ties to the donor class, right? The centrists like Moulton, Schumer, and Pelosi, and Jeffries, who obviously as caucus leaders spend a lot of time talking to donors and listening to their concerns. Pelosi, her very long tenure as leader of the House was marked by very consistent prioritizing of donor priorities, donor concerns, especially when it came to who should be the candidates in swing districts. Going with that sort of pro-corporate, can raise money Dem as opposed to the more left-leaning grassroots funded Dem, right? This has been a consistent theme in the party for at least 15 years, at least in the post-Citizens United era, if not longer. I worked for the Obama campaign in 2008, and I remember, you can read the articles back then about him, about how like Hillary in the primaries had all the old money donors and Obama had the new money donors, who are now just donors, right? They're not the new donors. They had an in with the administration for 8 years. They've been major political donors to the Democrats for 15 years. So yeah, I'm concerned that they see a coalition of labor and the Congressional Black Caucus and the Congressional Progressive Caucus as not good for their interests. I'm concerned that they are trying to capitalize on voters being scared of Trump to fully wrest control of the party. And I'm worried that if they succeed in getting Biden to step down, they will also succeed in fully taking control of the party. That's my concern, is a Democratic Party fully captured and run by its donors. I don't know where we go from there. I also think the Biden should step down discourse has an implicit promise in it that everyone will happily rally around Kamala as his successor, or at the very least, any debate will be positive and focused on uplifting whoever the eventual nominee is. I am not convinced that is how it will go. I think, again, if you look at the quotes of the donors who are making the most noise, if you look at the history of the centrists who are agitating against Biden now and the way they have rat-fucked the party in the press in the past, if you look at the centrist pundits who are currently, sharing this article by Tyler Cowen, being like very interesting. I think there's a lot to this. The article that implies Democrats should at least consider ditching black voters as an important political constituency, throwing trans people on the bus, embracing the nastiest anti-immigrant rhetoric, etc. If you think those people who bitch about DEI and all that are going to rally around Kamala Harris sight unseen, I don't know what to tell you. I don't think that's true. I don't. Yeah, I think Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi spent the first couple years of Trump's term talking about bipartisanship. I think they had to be yelled at by their base and dragged kicking and screaming into vehemently opposing Donald Trump. And even then, they were hoping Bob Mueller would do the job for them. Their impeachment, the first time they kept as narrow as possible. The second time, Chuck Schumer oversaw, the Senate hearings where they decided not to call any witnesses in order to make it as frictionless and pain-free for their Republican colleagues as possible, right? That was their goal with the second impeachment, was let's just do this to placate the base and move on to the important work of bipartisan infrastructure. Hakeem Jeffries, one of the first things he did as minority leader in the House, was go give a talk at Harlan Crow's Institute. Of course, he did that quietly. One of the first...
In 2 miles, use the left lane to take the US 84 north, US 285 exit toward Espanola.
One of the first things he did publicly was wade into a state-level judicial nomination battle against labor and women's groups' preferred candidate, right, in support of someone who was opposed by Emily's List, by Planned Parenthood, by labor. Schumer has overseen the Senate that has just been an abject failure in their oversight of the current Supreme Court. These aren't leaders who have taken the threat of Trump and the threat of right-wing extremism, of rising fascism, seriously for 8 years running now, and I don't think they're taking it seriously now. I don't think that's what's driving this revolt against Joe Biden, is a real concern about emergent fascism. I just don't see the evidence for that. And so I'm worried. I am. I'm worried that a lot of people are going to get behind this idea that we could just...
In a half mile, take the interchange.
A lot of people are going to get behind this idea that we could just swap out the nominee and it'll all be roses, and then we'll beat fascism together as a united front, and that would be lovely.
Use the left lane to take the US 84 North exit.
Not clear why we can't just do that around Joe Biden, though. Or if not Joe Biden...
Continue for half a mile.
Why we can't do that around Kamala Harris. And I think the fact that none of these people will commit to Kamala Harris sort of gives the game away, right? I don't know. I'm worried. I'm worried that this is going to end in a defeat for Democrats.
In a quarter mile,
but that
merge onto US 285 North, US 84 West.
Even a victory will be a Pyrrhic victory, one where the party is useless, so useless as a counterbalance to fascism, that we're just losing the battle in 2 or 4 years instead of in 4 months. Meanwhile,
continue on US 285 North for 14 miles.
On the other hand, Joe Biden coming out in favor of court reform and previewing aggressive court reform gives us the promise, maybe a very bank shot, long shot, who knows, promise, though, that we might finally be free of these fucking billionaires' influence, right? Because court reform could be the first step to ending Citizens United, ending, or at least limiting, the influence of big money on politics. And that's exciting. That should be exciting. And I'm worried that we're going to throw it away, that chance, even a small one, to rebuild democratic politics around something more worker-oriented, more populist-oriented, something that would reorient our government around a more democratically accountable governing class. That's exciting. Joe Biden's not exciting. I've spoken at length on the podcast about my reservations about voting for him for a variety of reasons, but that agenda is exciting. It is. So those are my thoughts. I don't know. Kamala might be a better candidate than Biden in a perfect world. I don't have any confidence, though, that the Democratic Party as it currently exists could create those conditions in which she could thrive as an easy replacement for him. I have no confidence whatsoever that any sort of open process to replace him will result in anything other than chaos, a mortally wounded nominee, whoever it is, and a Trump victory in November. That seems almost a given to me. So that's my thinking. Fuck the billionaires. Fuck the donors. Fuck the people carrying water for them in Democratic politics. And yeah, Joe Biden has real weaknesses. But I don't want to give the party over to the donor class. And I'm not sure we'll ever get it back if we do. So that's it. Now I'm going to go back to listening to my audiobook. Bye, everybody.